All right, we are back.
Special day, dude.
Yes, I'm glad this happened. We have our first guest ever in the podcast today. I'm very excited. Today we have Jack Osbourne with us. And let's see, in full disclosure, I have known Jack since I was 21.
It's been about 20 years, maybe a little longer.
Yeah. And Jack and I got sober together. I've kind of covered that in the podcast, but Jack was one of the guys that was like, we were in the same crew, and you've turned into one of my best friends in the world.
Absolutely.
You have always been there for me. And it was funny, man. I really judged the shit out of you before I knew you. And I was just like, oh, this guy, must be nice, and I totally judged you. And then one day, we were like, I think we were like having sushi together, and like I was like, damn, this guy's cool. Like, wow, he's down to earth. Like, and I couldn't believe it just because like obviously you come from like a wild family, and like you were like the most down to earth dude I had met in LA for a long time, and like so I just want to say, dude, thank you for being a good friend to me forever. You're the man. And the reason we wanted you on the podcast is because as much as I respect you just as a dude, I really respect you as a father. You got 4 kids, you got one on the way. And I have always admired how you parent, how you treat your kids, the attention you give them. So, we want to have you on.
Awesome.
I also want to say, just because this is heavy on my heart, I just want to say that I'm sorry for your loss.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I know it was heavy on, like, the world's heart, and I can't imagine what it's been like for you as his son, but it's like, I'm giving you a hug, brother, because I love you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great being here, and it's just funny. Like as you were just saying that, I was just thinking about how like for so long, like we're like planets orbiting the same sun for so long. Just with getting sober together, and then sharing the same hobbies, and Wyatt and Pearl. They were born around the same time, and I remember Ashley was pregnant at the same time as my ex-wife, and just so many. It's funny how like we've done a lot of life together.
Dude, no doubt about it.
I red pilled you, and then you brought me up to Idaho. So
let me really briefly tell that story, okay? I'm like 22. I'm like barely sober. I'm like I can barely see straight, and we're having sushi one day, like off of Sunset, and we're eating, and Jack's like, "Cool. Have you ever thought about how fragile supply chains are?" And I was like, "Well, no, I never have thought about that, right?" Like a week later, we're like planning like evac routes out of Los Angeles if shit goes
doing
down.
nighttime hikes with all like kit and shit.
Wait, but dude, how old were you then?
Well, let's see. I just turned 40. So I was probably like 19. Well, what?
No, you were younger, bro. Because I'm 44.
Well, no, because I'd already owned. No, I was older because I already could own guns. So I was in my 20s.
Well, no, you're probably over 18, right? Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was you were maybe a little older because
maybe it was different than when I was mid-20s.
Yeah.
When we started hanging.
Yeah.
Dude, I was not thinking about supply chains when I was 20 years old.
Yeah. Do you know what it was? I started like climbing and doing a bunch of outdoorsy shit and getting a little more independence that way, and just and I went on a huge climb. I climbed El Cap. And when I got down from El Cap, I came off and walked into like a gas station. I'd been on the wall for like 8 days climbing. I was screwed. And I came out and I went to a gas station, and there was a newspaper, and it was the day after Katrina just decimated New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I was like reading all this stuff about like just chaos and people murdering each other and people dying in the street and all this. And I was like, whoa, that can happen. And it just like, I just got plugged into like wanting to like not have that happen to me. And so I don't know, for a while I went like deep into like prepper world, and started stocking up on food and ammo and taking all these courses, and just became a hobby.
Yeah, it's funny because we talk about Sam grew up in kind of like Baltimore urban. I grew up in LA, right? You grew up in urban, and it's like I feel like we've all been on a track to kind of evolve and become more capable as men, because in a lot of those places like everything is outsourced to you. You know what I mean? And so I think we've all been on that journey of just like self-reliance, and again, in your 20s you can take stuff to crazy levels, which we did. Like we've had some fun stories of training together to try and be more capable. We have both given each other IVs.
Yep.
we've performed medical procedures on each other.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. And we have also traveled different parts of the country doing different training events together. Yeah. So anyway, but and then it's cool because we did start having kids like around the same time too, as well, right? And so we've joined in that, and yeah, man, it's been a wild ride.
Absolutely.
Been a wild ride.
Sam, how did you end up in Northern Idaho?
It was kind of a confluence of things. So Raquel lived here when she was younger and kind of always had it in her head of Idaho's awesome. She had like a sweet couple years here. And then we were on the East Coast during COVID and we were in Virginia, and it was fine there, but it was also like I can work remotely. Not stoked to go back to a major city. I think we had some of the same realizations as you of like, okay, probably not the best place to be if something like this happens again.
Yeah.
Idaho was like party time during COVID. Like it lasted 2 weeks, and they're just like, we're done.
We're done with this. That's true.
Was it you that told me the story about someone that was in this building during COVID? It was like 2 or 3 weeks after. Someone came over from Washington and were like super freaked out, and they somehow stumbled in here and no one was wearing masks, and they started bawling, crying. They're like just tears of terror. Like, what is happening here? But yeah, so I think that was probably part of the calculus of like Idaho sounds kind of awesome, and just outdoor stuff, dude. Like, you know how it is here. Yeah, it's like we were just talking yesterday about how sick it is that like Christmas here is awesome. It's like the most Christmas holidayed out place to be, and then snowboarding starts in like 1 week, right? And then we're back into freaking boat life, summertime. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. Everyone, like, little secret gem up here, you know? I mean, obviously the secret's out, but, you know, when I came up to visit with Cole during COVID, it was like a year into COVID, and, you know, LA was still locked down, and everyone was still freaking out, and, you know, all that shit. And I remember I got off the plane, and we met up the street here. Yep. When I got off the plane, and we came up here to visit just to, you know, Cole's like, oh, you got to come see this place, and I'd been looking at just properties before coming up. I was like, what's around? And Cole gave me his realtor's number. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and so we were just kind of chatting, and Cole's like, just come visit, come hang out, come see the homestead. And we get off the plane, and Ari was kind of on the fence with like, you know, she wasn't into the lockdown stuff, and then, you know, masking up and all that, but yet just was still kind of freaked because our mom was really sick, and my dad was sick, and so, you know, she was cautious. And I remember we got the rental car, we drove out here, and we walked into the restaurant that we met Cole and the whole fam at, and Ari was wearing a mask, and she walked in, and the guy behind, like, the bar in the restaurant was like, hey, take that shit off your face, you don't need that here. And I was like, oh, this place is amazing. Meanwhile, in LA, it's like we couldn't sit down at restaurants until, you know, we had to show our papers, full, like, you know, Third Reich style.
Dude, I went to LA peak, like, you know, fall of 2020 or summer of 2020, and it was so bleak, man. Yeah. It felt like apocalyptic. Yeah. Just like,
fully. Yeah. You know what I want? I was thinking about this the other day. Did you ever see the footage of, it was like early days COVID, a guy was, you know, everything was locked down. They shut the beaches, the parks, or whatever. And a guy was paddleboarding in Malibu, and they sent like the sheriff boat patrol out, and they arrested him. A part of me goes like, is that on that dude's record? Because he got arrested for paddleboarding by himself, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
He can't get a job now.
Yeah, like what the fuck happened to that guy?
Yeah, it's a felony.
Yeah, he's not allowed into Canada.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's like, I'm a little overwhelmed right now because there's 1,000 places we can go, in this conversation. But I know you wanted to talk music too, which I think would be really interesting too. And that's like one that's more in your guys' wheelhouse. Sure. But, you know, part of the thing that we talk about is kind of parenting against the grain, being able to be authentic, not having to be swayed by like other parents all give their kids this, so I have to, right? And it's like, that's again why you're on, because you've always kind of had, I think, a very strong kind of like foundation on and frame on who you were, you know? And so, and I know Sam, like you growing up, right, it's like you're in the hardcore scene, right? It's very counterculture, like nobody's doing that. I think that's what gave you your foundation. I was raised by John James, so that gave me my foundation. That guy just had a 1,000-yard Vietnam stare, so I just saw that you could do shit however you wanted, like as long as you were, principled in kind of your actions. But would you mind telling us a little bit like about, because I'm sure everyone listening is like, how is it having Ozzy Osbourne as your father, right? How, like, what are the takeaways? What are the things that you appreciated about him as a dad? Like, we talk about, other ways we decided, okay, we're going to pivot, we're going to do something different, like, or is there anything like that comes to mind?
The first thing that always comes to mind is like, my dad had amazing work ethic. Like, everyone always thinks, oh, rock star must be wild, like, I think a lot of images pop up for people like, Axl Rose, like not getting on, waiting 4 hours to get on stage and, riots starting and this, that. And like, don't get me wrong, my dad would have his moments, but he was really, because of the way he grew up, like super working class. Both his parents worked in factories. He was like, he got like one pair of shoes a year type thing when he was a kid. And like, just, did not grow up with any wealth, any abundance, nothing. And so I think for him, respecting work and respecting the privilege of his job, and he always knew that as quick as it comes, it can also go.
Right.
And so that was something that always stuck out to me about kind of, and something he would always share with me. He would always say, the same people you meet going up, you meet going down. So, be good to people you work with, and show up when you say you're going to show up, and do your job. And something that he always sticks out to me is like, if at first you don't succeed, try again. What he would always say. And so that kind of stuff was really, and I think that was very much ingrained to him from his father, of like strong work ethic.
Yeah.
Because my grandfather worked nights at a tool making factory his whole life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and that's one thing that I can just vouch for is like, again, when I first met you, right? I was just a wreck. I was a wreck in many ways.
Hey, listen, no one gets sober on a winning streak.
That is true, right? And so, I think I had like a 93 like Toyota Camry at the time, maybe, and this guy's like showing up in like some sick cars, and I was jealous, and I was like prejudging him. And then again, when I started hanging out with you, like, you were humble, you were nice to people. It didn't matter who they were, right? If they had any status in LA or not, like you were just a kind guy. And so that makes sense, right? If your dad's teaching you that, because that's what so much of like we talk about in here is like, I bring in the grief recovery work, and I'm like, look, a lot of the belief system that is in us is given to us by our parents. And then as adults, we got to figure and sort out what we want to keep and what we want to like jettison, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like half the battle of parenting, in my opinion, is like, if you're doing stuff that you don't feel good about as a parent, like there's a good chance that it's something from your past. And unless you go and complete what's emotionally unfinished there, it's going to be really hard to course correct, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So no, that's really cool about like the work ethic. And then again, like, be kind to the people on the way up and on the way down, because I immediately got that from you.
Yeah. And like, I mean, my dad, there were times where he wasn't the greatest parent.
Yeah.
He came from a time where it was, fathers didn't really parent back then. It was, they went to work, they did the deal, and when we were kids, there'd be arguments, and we'd have I was a teenager, you fight with your dad kind of shit, and I remember one time he looked at me, he's like, what have you got to complain about? You've never wanted for anything. You've got whatever. And I was like, I want a dad. I want a relationship with you. Because, he had his own struggles. He had his own addiction issues that, he struggled with for most of his life. And that is a huge wedge in any parental kind of arena.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was, but I learned, I think so much of parenting is you learn from your parents' mistakes ultimately, and you pick and choose what hey, I liked that my parents did that. I didn't like that my parents did that, and that's okay because our parents did the same shit.
Yep.
You know, and my dad didn't raise me at all like his dad raised him, and same with my mother. She very much was very different from her parents, and that's kind of whether people realize it or not. I think that's the gift we give our kids. You know, you give them that playbook to if they are. If they're aware enough, we give them that playbook to operate from when they're ready to be parents.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've focused on? So one of the things we talk about a lot is trying to model, kind of becoming the example you want to set for your kids. Is there stuff where like because you had kids younger, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Late
I was
20s?
26.
Yeah. So, I started at 33 and I was still like, I got to catch up on all these things. Like I'm way below here. I'm way behind on this thing. I had some things going for me, like, I'm in pretty good shape. I'm pretty healthy, and we got a good career situation going on. But like, there's areas that were like massive gaps.
Sure.
And that's stuff we talk about on this show. Like, what are the things that you really got to work on? Are there areas like that for you, especially starting younger, where it's like, I really got to work on this, or kind of catch up on this thing, or be intentional about this thing?
As a regards to being as a parent,
yeah,
man, there was so many things, and like, I used to yell at my kids a lot. I used to really get frustrated and I would lose it, and I don't do that anymore. Like in the last few years, I've really just done away with that because it doesn't accomplish anything, and if anything, it wounds them. It's like there's that saying, like, for kids, like anything that isn't nurturing is trauma, and so it in some way, shape, or form, and so it's I realized that I was doing harm to my kids when I was getting like angry and frustrated and kind of letting loose, because they're kids, they don't know, it's like these little humans that arrive here and they don't know how this thing goes, and they're trying to figure it out for themselves, and a lot of that was just me not taking enough care of myself and doing enough work on myself to be not so reactive. And I feel like I've got way better at that over the last few years, and that's
awesome.
And that's 10, 11 years into parenting. And that's the thing. It's a constantly moving target, because now that I'm I know how to parent a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, because I've had them all, but I don't know how to parent a teenager, and I have a 13-year-old now. And so now it's like, all right, like she's the she's the canary in the coal mine for me.
Yep. Yeah. I can relate. I can relate. I mean, our two oldest are
months apart.
Yeah, months.
Yeah.
Like very close.
Yeah.
And I can totally relate to that. That's really insightful. Like a moving target, and and that's where one of the things I appreciate. We talked about this a couple episodes back. Is like one thing that the 12-step program that I got sober in gave me was the humility to say, you're farther down this path than I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you share your experience, strength, and hope with me on doing that, right? Yeah. So I'm talking to parents who have teenagers or who've been through it,
right.
And I think that's one thing we could do more as parents, is just download and share more and have that humility to just be like. That's why Sam was reading some parenting book, and I had this gut reaction to reading parenting books. I refuse to read parenting books because I'm kind of who has the audacity to be I figured it out, I'm writing the book on it. You know what I mean? Yeah, we have a podcast, but we're constantly admitting we don't know exactly what we're doing, right? There's humility there, where if you have the audacity to write a book about parenting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I think a lot of parents want to pretend they have it all figured out, and it's dude, we all know you don't, because I know I don't.
There's that saying, right? Those who can't teach or write books.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I've heard teach, but now I like write books, because that's totally it.
But there are some people where I've read a few parenting books and dipped in, and I think, but that's the cool thing, right? There's what, 9 billion people on this planet, and there's 9 billion ways to do it. Yeah. And I think just having that willingness to expose yourself to ideas and communicate and just hear what, because sometimes I hear stuff where I'm like, hell no, I wouldn't do that. There's some things that, you do with your kids that like I would never do, and some things I do with my kids that you would never do. Like I could, I can remember times like seeing, it's different 'cause I got a bunch of girls, but like your boys run around with like knives and shit, and I'm like, I don't even like let my kids freaking run the bath. Like, but it's just because, but it's different environments, and environments absolutely can dictate how you raise your kids. I let my kids go out and play in LA. You would never let your kids go ride their bikes around Sherman Oaks or Studio City.
Right.
Cole'll be like 2 blocks behind, like in a black SUV.
Yeah,
like.
Exactly. You'd have a drone up flying over, like,
a thermal drone.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too. Like, I did want to cover, because it's been on my mind a lot. I have 3 boys and a girl, right? And you have girls, 4, on another on the way, right? And it's like, I think, in my opinion, no matter what anyone says, I think you do raise boys different than girls, you know, and there's different things there. So what have you seen, like, from the outside looking in, like, what do you think, is there any keys, like, to, number one, do you agree with that? And number 2, what do you think, like, what are your takeaways of raising girls? Like, if you could give me advice, I have one.
Sure.
And you have more experience raising girls. What specifically around that would you, does anything come to mind?
I think for me it's, and I don't want people to kind of take this the wrong way, but like, patience and grace around emotions. My girls are all very different and very emotionally different, and I always have to kind of, like my daughter Minnie, she, I could literally like, not that I yell at her, but I could like scold her for something, and it's like water off a duck's back. She just goes, okay. Doesn't get emotional about it. Doesn't, she doesn't onboard it. It doesn't physically affect her. She just kind of is like, okay, cool. But like Andy, my 10-year-old, if I'm like, hey, don't do that, it's like I have thrown a hot cup of coffee in her face. She's just like, and like it really, she just feels it, and so having that understanding for me that like emotions hit differently with them, because I think inherently girls are more sensitive by and large, I know it's a generalization, because there's I have friends with boys that are, they're very sensitive boys, and things will set them off, and but just being accepting of the emotions, and well, especially with my 13-year-old, that's a
I mean, it's been stark for us because we have a 1-year-old girl, almost 2, and then 2 older boys. And with our girl, it's like if we, not that we're scolding her at that age, but if we're like, hey, put that down, like just a small correction, she's like, just loses it, which never happened. Like never.
Yeah, and meanwhile, your 2 older boys are both headbutting the wall, trying to break the drywall. It's like it's that stark of a difference.
Yeah, and you gotta like freaking like we're working on the yelling thing too. I mean, like we actually just talked about that yesterday, and it's hard when you start seeing them do it back to you, and you're like, oh, where did they get that from?
You know what I started doing a lot with my 3-year-old Maple. I started whispering. It's this weird thing. Like I saw something, and this parent was talking about it. Like whenever she's being crazy, because that 3-year-old phase is just they're just like, wait a minute. I'm my own person now. I can do whatever I want. They really push those boundaries. Yeah. And she knows how to push her mom's buttons so well. And so now I just started doing things when she's getting nuts, when she's crying, having a tantrum. I just go, hey, Maple, come here. I got a secret. And the moment I whisper and say I have a secret, she's like clued in, and she's like,
just breaks the.
She's like, well, what's the secret? I was like, come here. And like it just lowers the vibration, and like. Yeah. But that's just stuff you just pick up, because I know with Andy, that would never have worked with her. Andy was like insane as a child.
Yeah.
Dude, by the way, I freaking shed a tear yesterday looking at your Instagram, the video of you coming back
from the jungle,
and Maple hugging you and doing the freaking shimmy, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like it takes nothing for me to cry now.
Oh God, yeah.
like since I became a parent, like I probably cried 5 times as an adult before having kids,
Yeah.
and now it's like everything just sets me off.
Yeah,
But,
isn't that wild?
dude, that video got me.
Isn't it crazy how being a parent softens you?
Oh, it's crazy, dude.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
It's a hard one. It's like
Yeah.
a real like, whoa, like that's Like I can remember before kids, it was like, oh, I didn't give a crap if I was, if I'd get hurt, if I was doing something dangerous, if I was I just was like whatever. But the moment I had kids, it was like, whoa, like slow down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's where I think, like, we did an episode a couple weeks ago talking about as dads specifically, right? Like the world can give us pain and give us hurt. And for a lot of guys, we want to cover that with anger, right? And it's like, again, it doesn't matter if it's boys or girls, but I think for girls, I work with a lot of adult women who are grieving their relationship with their living or deceased father, doesn't matter. And they're grieving that they didn't have a connection because they were constantly angry, constantly, overbearing with that kind of stuff. And so, like, my goal for me and my goal for, like, hopefully a lot of listeners is just working on that and being able to, like, shed a lot of that anger.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's, like, I see so many estrangements between girls, adult women, and their fathers because they just didn't know how to connect with them because their dad didn't have that capability.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, like, in some other era, maybe all you needed to do was wield the sword and provide. But like in 2026, like you need to have emotional IQ too as a dad,
Big
right?
time.
And especially with little girls, I feel like, because there's often less for them to relate to if you're just this like angry caricature of a man,
100%, absolutely. And it's like, be that example, right? I
Yeah.
want to be that example for my daughters of like, hey, this is what I want to be a good man because ultimately I want them to find a good man.
Yep.
And like, I want to be that standard they try and hold every other guy too.
That's awesome.
And if I'm yelling and being crazy and whatever, it's
They're
like,
looking for that. Yeah.
they'll look for that. Like I've always had this thing of like, I never, ever, ever would spank my kids. I know that's like a hot button, some people are like, yes, no, whatever. But I was like, no, I'll never, because I never want to normalize, putting hands on my daughters, because then it's like, well, it's okay for a guy to hit me because my dad would spank me.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing. Those imprint years are so important, with young girls but also young boys too,
Yeah.
because it's like, how do I see, like, what does it mean to be a man? And that's like a whole, it's like there's the parenting conversation, and then there's like, well, what does it mean to be a man in 2026,
Right.
and a parent, and what does that look like? Because I think our parents' generation was, you go to work, you come home, you go to work, you come home.
Yeah.
That was a lot. That's a huge component.
Yeah.
And
That was like an exceptional dad.
yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. If you went to work and came home,
Yeah.
and then, maybe you'd go to dinner once a week, or,
Yeah.
something, go to a sports game.
Yep.
But what I think is not spoken about enough, I think for men, is the connection, how important it is to, like, for me, I know in order to be a good father, I have to have good, healthy connection with other men. Because that gives me my community. It gives me my outlet. It gives me my my place to have conversations like this. And hey, what do you do? What's that? And I was with a good buddy of mine recently, and he's got teenage daughters, and he was sharing something about how his teenage daughters are just, they don't treat him great. They're really dismissive. He's recently split with, in the last few years, split with his ex-wife, and so his daughters are kind of resentful. And he goes, I don't want to be number one in your life. I'm not asking to be treated number one, but do not treat me like I'm, place 100 in your life. Like, I want to be somewhere in the kind of top end of the middle. Like, I'm
Right.
okay with that. And I was like, that's interesting. That's an interesting kind of take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that because I totally agree. I appreciate having a core group of men that inspire me, that I can rely on, that are, because for me it also gives me like context and a frame of reference on, oh, you know what? I really like how Sam does this thing as a parent, or I really like how Jack does this thing as a business guy, right? It's like, it's just continually trying to have the humility to learn from other guys. Like I've learned about parenting from both of you guys, and I don't think I've even mentioned it, but just observing and seeing, oh, there's other ways to do it, or oh, I like that. Like I do think that's important for guys to have a core community of other guys that are pushing each other, right? And like, let's be real, how many of us have that, or how many of us like prioritize that, because it's life gets in the way, right? And we want to be there for our wife, and we want to be there for the business, and we want to be there for the kids. And so it's like, I think the challenge is how do you like find time for that core group of guys? But I hope everyone listening does have some sort of a core group of guys. It could be
100%.
two guys, you know?
Yeah. Community as a father is so important, and it is not spoken about enough.
Yeah.
I think community and hobbies, like you have to have your ability to step away and you know, have joy that it aligns with kind of your core values.
Yeah. Well, and like for better or worse, right? Back in the day, a lot of us were raised by extended family as well. Yeah. Like you had dad maybe, and you had uncles, you had cousins, you had other men to look into. Well, we're all spread across the wind nowadays, right? So it's like, I don't think most people have that. So that's the other reason I want good men around me, so that my kids get to see and learn from other good men.
Totally.
You know, like you got to be intentional about that nowadays, because we don't have these big families.
No.
Right?
Yeah, no.
So you got to kind of pick them.
What's that, you know, I talk about this a lot. It's only been in the last, I mean, I'll even go as far as to say it's only been maybe in the last 100, 150 years that society has moved away from a kind of tribal structure. Yeah. You know, even you look at when people came over to America and started setting up shop here, it was, you kind of came, you came with your tribe, really, you know, whether it was, you know, Quakers or, you know, whatever, setting up shop. And so you kind of, you set up shop with your people.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to New York or Boston, these old East Coast cities, they, like all the old buildings there are like multi-generational family homes.
Yeah.
Because that's how it was until, like 1900, that time frame. Yeah. We've talked about this before, but the whole like Sears homes, when they started printing out the single family homes.
Yeah.
That wasn't really a cultural thing. It was like, hey, we see an opportunity here.
Big time.
And unfortunately, I think that's what shaped a lot of the modern culture around family, where it's like, yeah, of course you're a nuclear family unit.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you move away.
Yeah.
You know?
I think in generations to come, we will see that, you know, the single family home was probably one of the worst decisions society could have ever made.
Yeah, I totally agree.
There's a whole book I read over the summer called, I think it's Taking Back Your Family. And it's literally just about that.
Yeah.
It's about how it's the worst mistake that's ever been made. And we're kind of left holding the bag from, there's like a 10-year window where it did work, kind of like post World War II, like America's crushing it, like everyone's buying a house. Yeah. It kind of felt like it was working for a second, but the premise of the book is like, ever since then it has not been working, and it's a disaster. Yeah. And we're still, again, holding the bag from that decision.
Have you ever read Sebastian Junger's book Tribe?
I haven't. What else did he write?
God.
Oh yeah, no, I have read the book. I've read that. Yeah.
Have you read it?
Yeah. No, not Tribe. Not Tribe.
Dude,
I've read Tribe.
It's a short read. It's 100 and something pages.
Okay.
He wrote this. It was taken from like an article he wrote, and then he expanded on it. And I probably read that book every couple years. I love it so much. And Sebastian Junger, with his family, they all sleep in the same room together. His wife, his kids, everywhere. They basically kind of taken on board like Native American culture, like where everyone just lived in one teepee together. And so he just has like mattresses all over his room, and they all just sleep on the floor. And
that's awesome.
And I'm like, I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
You know, but then there's that notion of like, you know, he kind of brings up I heard him talk about this, but the whole sleep training thing, right? Like when you take a baby and away from its mother and you put the baby alone in a crib, in a room, away from, you know, its source of life, and how that's like a traumatic thing for a baby.
Totally.
And a part of me goes, yeah, I get that. But then a part of me goes, yeah, but it's also nice to like, I need to sleep. And it's figuring out those balances as a dad of like, well, what's the, you know, what is the right move there?
Yeah. Well, and again, I think what we keep butting up to, right, which is the fact that like different parents have different ideas of what's right and what's wrong. And that's like, I was actually thinking about floating this idea past you at some point is figuring out how to not break up friendships over parenting disagreements.
Yeah.
Because that can happen.
100%.
And it's like, yes, I get it. If you meet someone and you're diametrically opposed to every part of their parenting, like that's probably not a great fit.
Yeah, like
but it's
when
like
you-
me and Sam, like I could be sitting over here and been like, oh, I would have made a bit different choice there. And I'm sure they're at times doing that over to me. You know, I just happen to know one of my flaws in life is I can be very judgmental and very opinionated. So I've had to work on that too, you know, because like my gut reaction is like, tell me another species that takes their young and just goes, here, go into another part of the cave completely by yourself and just cry it out each night by yourself.
Yeah.
So like, it's like, to me, it's like, you know, it's like traumatizing, right? And so anyway, like, it's just like, but just learning how to just give each other grace and be like, this is a hard job and we don't, like, you don't have to agree and vice versa.
And I think for me is like, does it work for your family, and are you happy about the result? Like, that is like, I think for me, the top line. Now, there's shit that you see parents do where you're like, well, I'm like, that just is insane. And you know, like you hear stories about families where they're like, oh, my one kid's a furry, my other one's trans, my other one is identifying as a freaking doorknob, and they're like, cool.
Dude, I heard one tech dude recently that was like, we don't give our kids any guidance or instruction at all. We just like from the time they're born until as old as whatever, like we let them do whatever they want, eat whatever they want, watch whatever they want, and we let them figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's like
what is your role in
It's
the
like Montessori to the next level, right?
Oh yeah, just Montessori with the entire world. Yeah. Did you guys have anything like that, like especially being younger, where you had your social circle and then you started having kids and they started having kids and it was like you guys are doing something one way and they're not doing it and it's kind of weird?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely friendships where we just kind of parted ways, and mainly it was because the kids didn't really gel. Like, I found that, like, my friendships where my kids, like, lined up and were great, like...
Right. It's a lot easier.
It's so much easier, because then it's, you know, it's great. Like, our kids have always got along well, and they're night and day different.
Yeah.
But they can, like, gel, like, well.
Yes.
You know, and that's important for me. But I tend to not... I don't get overly judgy on how parents do things, because Lord knows my parents did fucking crazy things with us growing up, and you know, like I was 16 in the back of Hatebreed's tour bus getting tattooed. Like,
wait, which tattoo did you get there?
I got I have a tattoo. It was the first tattoo I ever got.
Sam is so ready for this story, by the way. Did you see him perk up?
He
I
was
hope
like-
the camera got like Hatebreed tattoo 16.
It was they were on Ozfest. They actually did Ozfest more than any band, but we were I forgot where we were, but I think I was wasted, and I like stumbled on the bus, and one of the guys was getting tattooed in the back lounge, and I just walked in there, and I was like, hey, I was like, I want a tattoo, and I was like, but do it in white ink so no one can really see it. That was my thing. I was like, I didn't want to get in trouble, but I wanted to get a tattoo, and so I was like, and they're like, well, what do you want? I was like, what's the only thing my mom wouldn't get mad at me for? I was like, do mom in a heart.
Genius.
So I had mom in a heart in white ink on my shoulder, and
Amazing.
then my sister immediately was like, Jack got a tattoo. Well, and here's the other thing. I was so insane and drunk at the time. I forgot that I got it, and the next morning I woke up and I was like, why does this? And I was like, oh yeah. No. But my mom didn't mind at all. She thought it was great.
And that was on Hatebreed's bus?
That was on
Do you
Hatebreed's
remember
bus.
who was there? Was it like the full band was there?
Yeah, it was. Well, Jamie was there. Who was the? It was the. I forget.
Sean Martin?
Yeah, I think Sean. It was well, they're all pretty big in that, but it was the guitar.
BD, that was bass player.
It was like the big guy.
That was Sean Martin.
That was Sean. Yeah, Sean was there. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think he does tattoo stuff now.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. But he didn't do it?
No,
Oh.
some tattoo artist who was just blasting them all, and I was like, do it.
Dude, that's a good story. I've never heard that story.
Yeah, first tattoo.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How do you, when your dad found out about that, how did he take it?
He didn't. He got mad when my sister Kelly got tattoos. He was pissed. With me, he was like, well, whatever. It was so funny. My dad parented me so differently from my sisters.
Yep.
He was really like, nah, whatever, you're a guy, you'll figure it out. With my sisters, they had curfews. He didn't like them wearing makeup when they were, in their early teens.
Oh, wow.
He was really concerned about what they wore when they went out, how their hair was. He would get pissed.
Did your mom back him up on that? Were they like unified?
Yeah, she would.
Yeah.
She would.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It was always, as like wild and as people thought my dad was kind of like, not very present, like his rules at the house were the rules of the house. My mom pretty much ran the household, and it was very much that, but it was when my dad said like no, or my dad said yes, that's how it went.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a curfew at all growing up until I started getting in a lot of trouble. But my sisters, they had to be home at 10:30 when they were teenagers. Like that was it. And obviously different time, LA was a lot safer, and we'd go out and
Where
whatever.
do you guys live? Like what area of LA?
In the mean streets of Beverly Hills.
Okay.
Yeah, real rough neighborhood.
Yeah.
When did you guys start? How old were you when you guys started the show?
We started filming when I was 15. Yeah, when I was 15. Yeah.
I guess my question is, like, again, I can't even imagine like being a child and parents and like there's cameras in, like, what kind of disturbance was that for you when it's like, here's the whole camera crew?
I was, because the way I am and just the way that I came together, like I was very secretive. I liked privacy. I liked people to not to know what I was doing. I liked that, you know. And at the time we started filming, I was drinking. I was, smoking pot. I was having sex. I was crazy. And so it was hard for me because I'm like, oh wait, now everything I'm doing is being filmed, and like that I really had a hard time with that.
Like you had a PA like following you at all times?
Yeah,
or like...
well, they would ask permission, if we were going somewhere, and they were like, hey, could we come? And we could, we had the option to say no. They would push. They'd be like, well, here's why we want to come, and this, that, and the other. And it was our job. We had to play ball. But I would always use the excuse of, well, I'm going partying. Like, you can't film that. And that was always my kind of, because I knew they couldn't show it. Although they did start to show stuff like down the road of like, they wouldn't show us actually like drinking, but it was clear. Like, I mean, we recently watched back some episodes and I'm like, how in God's earth did that make it on the air? Like, just
different time, dude.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we were kids just getting wasted and they're filming that and putting it on TV.
Yeah. I know. I can't even imagine having your childhood filmed like all the time.
Such awkward years too. Like
the worst years.
Oh my God. 15 years old is like the peak awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Acne, braces.
Yeah.
Just
figuring out who you are, like what your vibe is.
Yeah.
Like changing your like your style up and
100%.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm actually glad we met in sobriety because we would probably both be dead if we met during the high school days. Just imagine you're over here running Beverly Hills. There's a mountain range, and then there's the self-proclaimed king of the 818, me.
This is true.
King of the Valley.
Yeah, king of the valley, bro. And no one gave me that title. I just took it.
That's right, of course. Dude, you ran Grant High.
I mean, I can't even imagine if our worlds would have collided earlier, we probably would have been dead.
Yeah. Wait, you went to Grant, right?
I went to Grant. First, I went to Campbell Hall.
Okay.
Then I got politely asked to leave.
Yeah.
That's a fun story. And then I went to Grant. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was like I went from a like very sheltered high-end private school to like I felt like I was Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, you know what tuition is at Campbell Hall now? I think it's like $55,000 a year.
Oh my gosh. Dude.
They basically have like a valet for your car. I mean, you drive past and you see the cars in the student parking lot. I mean, it's just insane.
Well, bro, let's actually talk about that a little bit because like Sam and I can like, have our little podcast and pretend we're like the perfect parents. But like, honestly, Idaho does a lot of the parenting for you. Mm-hmm. Like we're in a bubble in a lot of ways. And you have to navigate insane stuff that we don't in Idaho. Like, let's just be straight up, right? So like how do you create sanity in Los Angeles, California, right? And it's like, again, I think you're the perfect parent to do that because you've navigated the most insanity in Los Angeles, California, being raised with a camera crew. But like, how do you do that, dude?
It's the balance, right? Everything's the balance. I'm sure you do it. We all try to do it with our kids. It's like you don't just keep your kids up on the mountaintop, like whittling furniture out of wood and like just only eating the chicken
elk.
Elk and chicken.
I love your idea of our life.
Pretty
Like,
accurate.
You're just whittling furniture up there.
Well, I didn't want to say making the kids polish the guns, but but like it's that. I mean, that's partly why I have my place in Idaho. It's because it's like, hey guys, like you need to be exposed to this. Like,
yes.
here's life in LA, and here's life out, in the free north. Like, it's so the wildlings are, dude.
Yeah.
And it's that balance, and I'm really good about keeping my kids pretty sheltered from like the crazy Hollywoodness of it.
Yes.
I'm now kind of just starting to kind of bring my kids to some events that I just are so that I don't love, but I'll see friends, whatever. Like, I'll tell a funny story. My dad's producer of his last two albums is this producer named Andrew Watt. He's a very, very close family friend, but very successful music producer. I mean, he's done Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars. My dad, you name it. I mean, this guy has done everyone. And it was his birthday party, and Andrew called me. He's like, hey, come to the party. And Ari and I were going to go, but Ari wasn't feeling good. And I was like, well, I'm going to bring Pearl. And I was like, come on, Pearl, we're going to a party. And she's like, what? She's 13. She's like, oh, really? And I know, the rule of thumb for me is like nothing good happens after midnight. So as long as you get out of there early enough, and I know Andrew and I know the people he surrounds himself with, it's not creepy.
Right.
It's not gross.
Yep.
But he's very much in that like tip of the spear A-list world. So Paul gets ready. We drive over there and we get there early because we're parents. And it starts at 7, so we were there at like 7:08. We're like, there's like maybe 6 people there when we arrive, and Pearl and I just kind of hanging out and chatting and whatever, and then like you see more people start coming in, and it's like, very, you got like the Chili Peppers there, and Leonardo DiCaprio, and like all these people, and Justin Bieber turns up, and my daughter's just sat there like wide-eyed because I don't bring her to stuff like that.
Right.
And she's just like, oh my God. She's like, is this what all parties are like in LA? And I'm like, no, but I don't know. Like, because I don't go to them really anymore.
Yeah.
And at one point, I don't know why, but Justin Bieber like had his shirt off. I think he was playing basketball or something, and he had his shirt off, and he walked past. We were waiting at like the food line. It was a great like food, buffet or whatever. And he walked past and like he was like, oh, excuse me, totally polite, nice, not, really. And he just goes, excuse me. And he kind of walked past us and he brushed himself against my daughter just because there was a bunch of people there and his like shirtless body. And I'm just like, Pearl, Justin Bieber just rubbed his shirtless body against you. And she was like, oh my God.
Oh, dude.
But then
She's like, when are we going to the next party, Dad?
But then we come up to Idaho, and I'm like, go play in your treehouse and go
awesome,
explore, and it's that.
She's a sweetheart, dude. Your kids are so sweet and so kind, and like, again, I think that's a testament to you because, like, you and I know a lot of guys that grew up with semi-similar childhoods to you, and a lot of them we buried.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them are just total psychos or just self-obsessed.
Detached from reality.
Yeah, not instilling the groundedness that you have, and like I can see it. I can see you in spite of all that wildness, and like you said, you're shielding them, but still, they're in LA and they roll with you, and they go to school with a bunch of kids that are probably getting a lot of different signals that are not what you do, but like I can tell because of the strength of you as a father, you're instilling that groundedness in them.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's ground them in the balance, and and I'm not going to say who, but you have a friend who's hugely successful in the industry, but just from what I observed from the 10,000 foot view, it's like I would imagine he's instilling that balance as well, just because of the world he operates in.
Yes, 100%, and I can vouch for that too.
Yeah, and
yeah.
you could have both can exist at the same time, right? I can
Yeah.
have my kids at a Hollywood party. We're gonna go to the Grammys. We're gonna go to a different event. This I can have them there and show them, hey, like this is what a certain side of the industry looks like, but it's not real life. This is like This is just a byproduct of an industry.
Do you give them that like context when you go to that stuff?
Yes, I do, especially with Pearl because she's older.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, like, with COVID, it really slowed things down as far as like my social world, going to events, going this, and I kind of got out of rhythm with it, and I didn't really do it. And only in the last couple of years have I started kind of doing that stuff again. And so it's kind of new to my kids as they're getting older, and especially with like, since with my dad's passing, right? And before my dad passed, we had this big show, and my kids, because he got sick like 7 years ago, my eldest daughter Pearl remembers him playing shows and going to gigs and being backstage and doing the touring thing.
Right.
She came to a bunch. Andy came to a little, but Minnie, my youngest, she never saw my dad play live. Maple never saw my dad play live, and so I remember taking them to the show, and they were like, "Wow, like, is this how it always? What, like, is this normal?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, like this is how I grew up. This is what Papa always did, and like this was his world." And I remember Andy looked at me one point. She's like, "Are all these people here to see him?" And I'm like, "Yeah," like, because they just haven't. It's just not been a part of their world.
Yep.
Which I'm grateful for, because I think it's like this. I think they really appreciated the scope of it, because it wasn't something they were so used to, and they hadn't been jaded by it.
Right. Yeah. How do you make sense of, this is something that we talk about a lot, which is we've both had kind of unusual and like crazy experiences in our life that have helped us give the type of, like when you go to the parties in LA, it's not like your first time going. Like you can kind of give your kids the context of like, hey, this is kind of what this thing is, because you've done it before and you know what it really means, and you can kind of help guide them.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have been able to do that if your kids enter that environment and you grew up in a super sheltered environment. You couldn't help them with that. And so I'm like, we're raising our kids pretty sheltered here in Idaho, and that's what we want, because you guys just kind of said why. It's like a lot of your friends that you guys came up with aren't here anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like you don't come out the other side a lot of the time, but when you do have a lot of perspective that's valuable.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think about that with your kids? Because I think we're both thinking about,
well,
what does it mean to grow up here?
I mean, just to be completely like, just to get, come clean at the car wash. Like just from as a friend, like I've often wondered, like, what's Cole's kids going to do when they rebel? Because all kids rebel. That's just what we do. Like, I go like, what is like Wyatt and Bridger are going to go, fuck this, I want to move to New York City because I've been in a forest my whole life and I want something else.
Yep.
Like, what is, like, but same with my kids. Like, what if my kids turn around and go, you know what, I want to go and freaking move to, I don't know, middle of nowhere, or move to a complete other country that's nothing that we've ever done or seen, and I think ultimately you kind of just have to let them. You just have to let the kids, when they get to that point. My daughter was horrible to me yesterday. We had a huge disagreement. She was super disrespectful, and I got really upset with her. And I had this like thought about, oh, this is nature doing its thing, because she's my eldest. She's my baby. Her and I were by far like the closest, out of any of my kids, growing up. Like her and I were glued to each other. I took her everywhere, and every morning for like 3 years we would go get breakfast with like guys from meetings, and like she was just like, she was the homie. And I think nature has a way of making kids get kind of shitty, so we're okay with them leaving.
Right, create some distance.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
It starts that kind of, because if my daughter stayed like she was when she was 3 for her whole life, it would be so crushing when if she were to leave and go explore the world herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that I read something about that's called individuation or something like that. That's like the last step in the evolution where it's like they're figuring out how to be their own person and kind of break away.
Yeah. And we just got to supply them with as many tools as we can. You know, hey, this is how you run a house. This is how you take care of your body. This is how you.
Yeah, our kids aren't going to rebel, dude. We're going to live on multi-gen compounds here for the rest of our life.
I mean, I keep telling my kids that. I'm like, hey, when you're ready, you want to build a place on the property.
You guys have the freaking property already.
Yeah. So I'm like, you build a cabin when you're ready.
Yep. No, it is a good point, and I've thought that same thing, right? It's like, what if one of my kids wants to live in New York City, right? Like what? And I think kind of what you're doing, and I'm not doing this with the young ones because again, I think so much of their belief system is set up when they're very, very young, and I'm just like, I'm happy to just provide them nothing but wholesomeness and none of the craziness. My 13-year-old, I am strategically bringing him into the world here and there, kind of like what you were doing with Pearl, and I'm like taking him places. Yeah. We're gonna go on some trips. He's gonna see other things, and we're gonna talk stuff through. And I think that's really important to just be intentional as a parent and show them kind of other parts of the world and stuff. And it's not all this idyllic homestead here. Yeah. Like here's some other stuff. Like I remember in the last couple of years doing travel ball, like going to like rough parts of Spokane for baseball, and they're just like, what are all these people like? I'm like, they're called homeless people, like they don't know that, right? And it's like just kind of like describing and teaching them and going into the world a little bit, like strategically, not just being like, okay, here's. Here,
you're 18
go to your
neighbor,
21. Yeah, go to our neighbors, and you're going to get a real slice of life for the next, month because we're just like let you go over there, So it's like, I don't know. I think it is different for every parent, but
it is, and it, like I said, it does it work for you, and you feel good about it.
Right. Yeah.
That's the test, and that's why it's like, hey, like there but for the grace of God go I. Like it's hey, if you're happy about it, so be it.
Yeah. How. I love your mom. She's such a sweetheart. And my mom, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but my mom just came to live with us part-time right now, right? But it's kind of interesting sometimes when I see stuff I'm unfinished with my mom, and then she's like, meanwhile, passing on to to her grandkids, and I like get a little triggered, or I'm like, we're doing this a little bit different, Mom. Like, like do you have any of that, like when you're hanging with your mom and your kids, like where you feel like you need to intervene or course correct, or are you just cool with her teaching them and passing along stuff that you know? Like, is there any of that?
My mom's really kind of grounded with my kids. Yeah,
okay.
There's never been anything where I was a bit like, like, no, not okay with that.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's like I want my mom to kind of teach my girls more things.
Yeah.
Like, it just as that kind of, my mom very much is that kind of alpha woman.
Yes.
She's a very strong, like, she's soft equally, but, she has a lot of strength. And I see that as a really amazing characteristics that I would love my girls to have.
Yeah.
And so like that kind of stuff, I'm all open. It's like when they see, when she gets all fired up and she gets angry about something, or she gets passionate about something, I'm like, like that's okay.
Yeah.
And but it's funny. I think if anything, it's more my sisters that I'm like, no, like that's like, we're not doing that. But yeah, but it is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard to kind of when you see that certain thing pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and for me, and I love my mom, and she's amazing, and it's funny. Our moms have crossed paths like on the same sound stages, and my mom or yours like, oh, I think our kids are friends. Like they've actually had some overlap too, and my mom really thinks highly of your mom.
Yeah, no, I'd love to get our moms together more often than
not. We'll make it happen.
We will.
Has your mom been up to Idaho?
She has. Yeah, she only ever came up once.
we kicked it at the county fair, all
Yeah,
of us.
we
It,
did.
it was,
Oh,
yeah.
dang.
It
Yeah,
was
we did
rad.
low vis Sharon at the county fair.
Yo.
Threw a hat on her and a pair of glasses.
It
and-
was
Dude.
rad. It's there's nothing better than someone eating an elephant ear and then doing a double take and being like, "Is that the Osbournes?" In like the deep North County Fair.
Yep.
Yeah. No, and I guess the reason I bring that up is because there's just some like boomerisms my mom does that are like subtle. They're not mean. They're just, I'm kind of opposed to it, And so I have felt, and my mom, again, she's a sweetheart, and I love the relationship she has with my kids. Like, I love it. But there's just times when she like puts in stuff that I just feel obligated to whisper in my kid's ear later, like, Daddy disagrees a little bit with that, and here's why, Like, there's just kind of that's happening a little bit here and there. Again, but I think that's also naturally part of the process of like, again, strategically having them get different points of view, strategically taking them places, but managing that, right? Because I feel like if you don't get the counterpoint to it, that can sound like a good idea. Like a lot of shit can look like a good idea to a kid, right? And I would just prefer there being, hey, like one thing that's shout out to Josh Parker, a mutual friend of ours. Like he gave me a job when I was younger. And I was like a chess instructor for kids. And I love the idea of chess for kids, right? And just like, let's think 2 moves ahead. Wow, you can actually think 3 steps ahead, right? And just planting that in your kids, like, here's daddy's point, here's the counterpoint. Like, what do you think of it? Like, and let's just learn how to hash stuff out.
Yeah.
That opportunity has been coming up when you get another generation involved in not the parenting, because my mom's very respectful of that. But again, she's just saying her opinion on stuff.
Yeah.
And like, so that's been going on.
Well, yeah, and your mom is, I don't think it's a secret. Like your mom's belief system is very opposite of yours.
Yeah.
But I kind of like I think from your position that's actually a great asset because it's like, hey, like there is this other kind of belief and way to do life and world, and like. There are some things that I see my kids, they'll jump onto some of that stuff, the kind of some theory, whether it's, some idea or something that's not really what we do at home, and they'll try it out, and then they just say, well, that doesn't really work for the way that we live life, and I'm like, all right, comes in, goes out, it's,
right.
And, I've had some tricky conversations with the kids, and just the climate that we're in now, especially with this hypersexualization in society and all this gender identity stuff and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like that's not a thing. Or, okay, if you think that, but like, what does that really mean? And, I try and I
like reason with them.
And I challenge these, kind of concepts and ideas that they're bringing into the home. But we're going to fuck our kids up no matter what we do.
Yeah.
That's the thing I've surrendered to. I'm just like, they're not going to come out of this, perfect beings. They're going to be flawed. They're going to make mistakes, and but that's a part of the journey. I think I say this probably too many times, but it's one of my favorite quotes. I mean, Jordan Peterson, he goes, none of us are entitled to happiness. We're entitled to a journey. And I'm just trying to like set my kids up to have a journey. They're gonna have hard times, they're gonna have failures, they're gonna screw up, but they're also gonna have some really cool things happen. And exposing them to everything so they're ready for that journey, I think is important for me.
I love that. I totally agree. And the way I look at it through the work I do is just like, in your journey there's going to be grief.
God, yeah.
And I just can't shield you from that. The best I can do is hopefully give you some tools that are a little bit maybe more helpful than this is what society will offer you as tools at dealing with heartbreak and things not turning out the way you wanted, and those kind of things. But no, I love that.
And it's but with grief as a byproduct of death, just experiencing that in our household right now has really been a obviously hugely painful, just horrible, and I see it affected my kids so differently. But it also allowed for a huge amount of growth and gratitude that I was never exposed to as a child, because I never really lost anyone that I was really close with until I was much older. And I think it's and I'm not, I mean, did you experience that with your kids when your father passed?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally grief is about conflicting feelings. And if we let the person grieving just kind of explore those feelings without us inserting them, you must be so grateful you had so much time with them. Like, shut up. Like, I just want my dad back, right? If you just let people sort out there's gratitude often there, right? So, yeah, like I think probably the thing that's been is most painful for me, and you may be able to relate to this, is like my dad was such a great dude, and it's like it breaks like it kind of hit me in the heart when you were like, yeah, my youngest kids never got to see my dad perform. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it makes me sad that they just don't get to have the relationship that I did, right? It makes me sad that only my 2 older kids remember him, and my 2 younger ones are kind of like, yeah, grandpa was nice, I'm just like, oh, what an amazing guy. And like, so there is gratitude. I got to know him, and I got to, but it's also there's sadness that it's like, oh, your grandkids don't get to know you, you know? There's just that. So.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah.
Where are you at with like bringing your kids on tour?
We've talked about, because we kind of just do one-off shows these days, and it would be super easy to bring them. I think our oldest is just now getting to the age where that would kind of make sense. Like, we keep saying we're going to do it, and I just kind of forget about it. But like, we just played LA, I don't know, 2 weeks ago.
Oh shit, dude! Thanks for the invite.
I know.
I think I did tell you should invite this guy.
Yeah, dude, I'd have come. I'd have thrown him down.
We'll be back. Yeah. But like, that would have been probably a good one.
They're gonna let me play cowbell, by the way.
Hell yeah.
They told me.
This isn't announced yet, but I think we're playing the UK next summer.
Okay.
So
cool.
if
I'm over there,
town,
you doing a festival? Or you just doing a
doing
one-off?
a fest, yeah.
Nice.
I can't say which one yet, but I have committed to Cole can play cowbell at that festival because he's lining up some work stuff to come out there potentially. So
guys trip to England.
Let's do it. Dude, let's do it.
But yeah, I think he would definitely be overstimulated. Just it's like you're up late. There's lots of lights. Dude, the last show we played in LA, I would just like barely slept that night. Like, my resting heart rate was like jacked up just from like the stimulation. I'm just we live pretty peaceful, quiet lives here, so talking to people all night, playing the show, all the bright lights, you're in front of thousands of people like yelling at you. It's just kind of like an intense experience. I think that would impact him, but I still think it's worth it. Like, I would be open to bringing him nowish. You know, like, I think it's about time.
Yeah.
Because they see videos and stuff, and they're like, this looks awesome. Yeah.
I got to go to Sam. We went to a Turnstile show in Seattle like a couple months ago. By the way, I don't know if you know, but I know you guys are all family friends with Elton John. Mm-hmm. And Elton John just had Brendan on, right? Yeah. A podcast. Mm-hmm.
Have you heard them like before, Turnstile? No. Dude, they're freaking massive. So it's like they're from the hardcore world. The drummer of my band sings in Turnstile.
Oh, cool.
And then a guy that's also rolls with us plays bass in Turnstile. They're up for 5 Grammys this year. They just did a couple headline legs in the U.S., and it's like 8,000 people, 10,000 people a night. Wow. Just massive, massive shows.
It's crazy. I really am seeing there's a huge resurgence in like rock, hard rock, metal right now.
Dude,
it's
I think
wild.
Yeah, I think they're honestly the ones though. Like, I would say they're probably the biggest heavy band, guitar band period right now.
Nice.
Which is like, so
maybe I've heard them.
Well, it's crazy because like Hatebreed Ozfest era used to be like the high water mark.
Yeah.
And that was true for us when we first started TUI. It was like, well, the maximum potential outcome is like Hatebreed Ozfest, and that like Hatebreed was like, that was the highest possible achievement. But, and no diss to them, like Hatebreed's top 3 favorite bands for me, but Turnstile they've created a new high water mark.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're just freaking massive.
Crushing it, nice.
And it's different than Hatebreed was more like in the metal world, and still like they'll tour with like Lamb of God and Metallica and stuff like that. Turnstile's got their own thing going on. It's different. It's not like Metallic. They have like melodic songs.
Yes. Well, that's what like Elton John was on this podcast. It's funny. Just I saw a clip, and he's like, I have an old like 6 disc CD changer, and you're one of the CDs like that I've been playing all year or something, right? And Brendan didn't even know how to take it. Like,
he's just like, thank you. He's
amazing.
like, you guys are my favorite bands right now.
Elton John is a prolific student of music.
Is he?
Wow. Oh my God, you could literally talk about any he probably would have heard of you guys. He is any new album, any album that comes out that even has a remote like decent review, he'll go get and he'll listen to it. Anyone.
Yeah, dude.
Like
that's crazy, man. Because he was dialed on like the Turnstile thing. He was like naming songs.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my favorite song. You know, like pays more attention than I do to stuff.
It is. I mean, there's conversations I've had with him where he's talked about just random bands, and I'm like, what? Like, how do you? Yeah,
dude.
But it gets into specifics. Like, it's wild. Like he almost treats it like how people treat like fantasy football with like knowing stats on players and knowing just the nitty gritty and like, oh yeah, well that guy like tore his ACL like 6 years ago and like it's gonna be a little weird, whatever. Like he gets really into it that way, and it's super impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I think it's gonna be so cool when you do get to share that talent you have with your kids, like that'll be wild. I hope I can be a fly on the wall when that happens,
Trying to, we got to get you out to a show.
Definitely next time LA, I'll come out too, and we'll go to that. That'll be fun. But well, let's see what time we're at. Oh, dang, we're about to miss jiu-jitsu, dude.
Oh, shit, can we?
Jack's about to maul me right now.
Are we allowed to jump in late? Is that all right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got to wrap, but dude, again, I love you. I respect you. Thank you for being such a good friend, a lifelong friend, dude, and I'm grateful for that.
Grateful for you, and Sam, grateful for you with the new friendship, and it's great.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, dude, I'm your kids are lucky to have you as a dad,
and your kids are lucky, and your kids are lucky. Sam.
Yeah, and shout out to your wife too. They're lucky to have her as a mom too.
Thank you.
Cool. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. And again, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, and give us some feedback. We love hearing about other topics that we're going to cover, on here. So
Jack is our first and maybe our last guest.
Hard
to top, Like,
yeah. By the way, what do you got? Is that Kuehl? Is that a Kuehl on there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kuehl, you can sponsor us,
Yeah.
right? Like, look, our guests even rock Kuehl.
Yeah.
Glock, we're taking sponsors right now.
Yeah.
So
what else? I don't know. Fall Raven.
Raven.
Get some good Fall Raven.
yes, Toyota.
Yeah, Toyota.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Yes, snowboard company.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, Kubota. We need an excavator. So if you want to send us an excavator,
I need an excavator as well.
Imagine us reading a Kubota ad on there, dude.
No, you know what's gonna happen is through our podcast, Jack is gonna get sent a Kubota, and then I'll be like, must be nice,
dude. For the freaking if you guys do a show this year,
I know I'm gonna think about hitting up some tractor companies. I need to
get my dad a Kubota if that goes through.
Oh, dude. How sick would that be?
Dude, imagine like
Merry
making
Christmas
slow
Day.
motion footage of like a Kubota and your guy's pasture like excavating.
But your dig is awesome. Your thing's tried and true. That thing,
dude, we have like a 1983 Komatsu that's like bright, like purple, and it's fire, dude. It's fire. It gets the job done.
It does. Leaks oil out the wazoo, but
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It's definitely like an OSHA violation slash like. Whatever. But all right, cool. We're spiraling out of control, so we're gonna shut it down. But again, thanks for being on it. Until next time, leave no doubt fatherhood podcast. All right, we'll see you.